Hey everyone, Eric from Monoblog Studio is here, and I'm back with another update because we are making a video game with a friend of mine and a partner of mine. It's a unique side scrolling strategy game that we are working on for about 7 months now, which is pretty cool. I think it's a good thing to document the journey, how I feel and how we feel, what are the highs and lows of making such a game. And we didn't really have previous experience. So this is really our first real try to release a video game. It's not like that we never tried before. So we worked on prototypes in the past and whatnot. But I think I documented those in this audio log in this podcast previously enough times. So let's just move on. So this is another update on what we've been doing and what we achieved and what we haven't achieved, maybe. I reflected a lot during the holidays and the past couple of months that on how it has been, how it felt to be a video game maker. Because I'm the artist on the project, I work with a partner who is focused on the programming and we are designing the game together. But the most important is that I've been reflecting on the fact that how I feel about this. Because previously, when I worked in enterprise software for 14 years, um, I always felt that I'm not doing enough creative work. I was always a creative person, and I always had side projects such as playing music, drawing comics, and then drawing various kinds of illustrations or any type of, outside activity. But as a full-time thing, I felt that my job required some level of creativity. It was not really the type of creativity that I dreamed about as a kid, for example. And since I think making games is the coolest art form, and I was always into art, because here's where, all things come together: visuals, music, sounds, storytelling, technology, and a bit of business. This fascinated me all the time, especially as a player at first, and now I'm really into the making of the game. So I was dreaming about it when I had a full-time job, and I felt that maybe I could do this. Maybe I have some talents here, and probably I would feel right, but I was just too scared to make that jump, right? And I was kind of opting for security and basically for establishing myself before I start doing this, because this is not a default path, I would say, right? Like making games and getting into development of video games, especially if you live in a country where I think video game making is not really a thing. There are some teams doing it, but it's not really something that's a usual thing. Maybe it's nowhere usual thing, but I just felt that, this is not the default path here. So getting into it feels scary. People are like very skeptical about it when you bring it up. So, anyways, I was always really interested in it and I was always kind of dreaming of making one. But in reality, I felt that um, I'm not allowed to do it, right? So, anyways, I'm through this, and but I was kind of glorifying because this seemed like the dream job for me, or the dream profession, if you like. And I just thought that this is something that's like very hard to achieve, very hard to get into. And I think it's partially true, but actually you can just get started and do something small, as people say, and that's exactly what we did. Truth to be told, when we started, we always scoped everything, like seriously everything. Like I couldn't actually think small. None of us could. I think probably we have had to go through those phases when we couldn't really think of small things, because if you love games like Uncharted and Resident Evil, Ori and the Blind Forest, probably it's very hard to not want to make games like those games. But we had to be realistic, and now we are making a somewhat still ambitious game for two people, but it's cool. But anyways, what I wanted to really, really, really say with this is that after reflecting on it and doing game dev nearly full time for 7 months, I feel like I'm no longer glorifying it. And it's good. And actually, it's good. So it's not a negative thing. I kind of feel that this has become natural part of my days. So I wake up and I work on the game, and we work on the game. And I'm glad that I'm no longer dreaming about it. And I learned that actually it's not all fun, right? There are days when we feel extremely directionless. We have absolutely no idea what to do next. And it takes a while and it's frustrating. It's not good. And since we committed to deliver this, and we expect a little bit of comeback, hopefully, right, out of it. So it's like not fully zero and just an investment in a huge learning project and a very expensive learning project. because it requires a lot of time, right? And we decided to focus on it as much as we can. We still do consulting and other types of work on the side just to sustain ourselves, but the main focus is right now this. But I no longer glorify, right? Because I'm finally part of it. And the way I could put it, and it might sound strange, but when you are creative, I feel if you really suppress your creativity for too long, which I did, then it wants to come out of you. And I'm so glad that I made this jump. And now I feel like sometimes I run out of creativity because making a game requires so many ideas, constant generation of ideas. And I'm just glad that I'm doing it, but sometimes I feel really drained, but it's good, right? So it's good that I no longer suppress it, I no longer hold it inside. It just comes out of me, and I like that. So basically, I'm over the honeymoon phase with this thing, right? Initially I was extremely glad and super happy and kind of passionate, and I'm still passionate, but in a more balanced way, I'd say, right? It's a job, it has upsides, it has downsides, and sometimes it's frustrating just like any other job. So I remember when I looked at other devlogs and looking at their chill videos about making a game and it's all awesomeness. That's not true. Actually, it's for entertainment and marketing reasons, and that's it. But actually, under the hood, when you're in the day to day, you are working on small details, dry details, not all the time, but most of the time. And it's just like any other job. Like, yeah, actually, it's more fun. I enjoy it a lot more than doing PPTs or Excels or some kind of webinars. But the thing is, it has still a lot of grindy, boring part, just like any other job has. And that's it. That's it that I wanted to really tell you about how I feel about making a game after 7 months doing it nearly full time. Now let's focus on the update. So I think I ended the previous episode in a somewhat negative tone. I said that it really frustrates me that it feels like we are now really knowing the gameplay loop and we don't really see the full picture of the game, like what this is going to be, because we were so focused on the in-level experience, right? Like what is the moment to moment gameplay. And I just felt we spent so much time on it and it was still not really coming together. So like the gameplay loop was kind of lacking and was not really satisfying. And at the same time, it also pressured me that I'm not seeing the full progress, and I was a bit frustrated. We are not really committing to any direction. And 2 months later, now we are here, and I'm glad to say, yeah, we did commit to a direction now, right? So sometimes you just need to give it time and talk it out. I'm quite glad that I feel like we have a reasonable gameplay loop in level, and we also have a plan for a full game's scope and the overall progression, which is good. I'm happy about it, actually. It's very, very good that we have that. The other thing is that we registered the business entity for our studio. The reason why we had to do it is because if you want to launch a game on Steam and you are not alone, you're not a solo developer, then you actually somehow need to connect. We had to formally state that it's two of us working on this game. So we had to form a business entity. It's a limited company. So two reasons why we need it. First, because of Steam, right? We need it there. We need to create a Steam page. It's already in the making. I think that's the other important update. I'm still kind of polishing it, but soon we will launch the Steam page for our game, which was previously called Strange Desert, but now we call it Earthlings because it just suits the game better. That's it. I think this is like the fourth or fifth name of the game, and I think Earthlings is the name of the game. The second reason why we had to do it is because we will be working with two other people on the music and sound effects front. So that's actually really cool because we have Felix Barbarina and Paul Zimmerman coming on board and helping us with the demo of this game, because we are focusing on making a demo and having it released hopefully for the next Steam Next Fest, which is in June 2025. These guys worked on Wild Frost, the game, so it's even on Game Pass. You could check it out just if you really want to kind of figure out what is their background. Honestly, they are much more talented in their domains than we are, but that's it. Like, that's how you need to do it. And I'm so happy. We are so happy that they said yes to help us, because they just, I guess, like the project, and I hope they like it actually, but that's what they told us. So yeah, they worked on other games. I think Closer the Distance is a really cool game, quite a recent one, an award-winning game that I highly recommend. I think Paul also worked on Locomotive, which is a point and click, which it's on my backlog actually. I want to play it. So yeah, these guys really worked on awesome games, and I'm so happy to have them on board. And yeah, the other thing is that since they work with us, they're basically contractors on this project, so we have to pay them. So that's why a business entity was needed, because then we could streamline these spendings and kind of monitor, track these things better. So other reason why we had to have a business entity. If you're a solo developer, this is much easier, but we had to go through the process, and yeah, that's it. We just have it now finally. And last but not least, the important thing is that since we figured out the progression, since we figured out the gameplay loop, we realized that there's a lot more work that needs to be done. So that means that a lot of art assets, world building, so background, characters, even story. Oh, and by the way, I almost forgot to tell you, we finally came up with a small enough but somewhat fun story, because our game is set in ancient Egypt, an alternative ancient Egypt, where we try to answer if aliens were involved in making the pyramids. And yeah, they were. Spoiler alert. But we also want to kind of give a proper explanation, like why they were here, what was their actual motivation, and how actually the pyramids ended up being made. So the thing is that we finally came up with a story also. It was quite difficult because it's a strategy game, and I was not really used to. So when I was a kid, I played a lot of strategy games, but never really cared about the storyline of strategy games. I just kind of played the skirmish mode all the time, just let's build a settlement, let's conquer and dominate the map, basically. That was kind of my angle when I played those games. For me, like finding in our game the right mechanics and beats when actually story could be told, that was not really straightforward. Maybe it still not is, but we have a somewhat better plan and framework for it. And it's a strategy game, right? So like it's not like talking heads all the time telling you something or doing something. It's a strategy game. So anyways, that's also something that's finally clear. And I think even with my partner Marta, we had this a couple of discussions. We feel like that finally the things start to fall into their places, which is cool. So this is, I don't want to make this game feel bigger than what it is. It's a somewhat focused, smaller games, but it has a lot of systems. We're so happy that it's not falling apart yet. So yeah, we've been working on a lot of things. I feel the January and February, all of those feel like a long Monday of the year. For us, it was very productive and we progressed a lot. My partner Marcel is really focused on the gameplay side of things. Now he's laying down the foundation in terms of coding for the overall progression. Also, he spent a lot of time on reworking the UI again, because I reworked the UI again because it was just not really great. And actually, probably I should have like a individual episode on that one, because I think this is like the seventh iteration of the UI, and I'm pretty sure I pissed the hell out of him because he had to just do it again and again and again. But it is what it is. I think this is really the first project, and we don't really have everything figured out up front. Sometimes we just figure it out and pivot as we go. The overall vision of the game is still there. So the overall core vision, right? Vision is not like a super prescriptive description of a game, but it's still there. So we are still making that game we wanted to make, but sometimes some ideas that sounded good on paper did not work really well. We had to kind of change a couple of things, and yeah, the game has evolved a lot, but I think for the better. So it's pretty cool. I'm quite happy with it. A lot of progress has been made, and that's really my update for February. I think the last big update is that now we will be working on trailers, announcements, much more marketing material, like marketing material. Basically, when we say marketing material, we just want to let people know that this game is in the works, it's happening. So that was it for today. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I hope you found this one insightful. And yeah, this gives you a good look into what it is to make a game and what phases we are going through, what are the highs and lows of it. Right now, this was, I think, a pretty positive one. These episodes are not always that positive, but right now it is. We are in a good rhythm. Feels like we are on track. We have a plan. I think we have a game that's coming together nicely. So that's what we are focused on. So thank you very much for checking in, tuning in, and Talk to you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.